Tariffs, trade wars, markets crashing. Sounds complicated? Don't worry. We'll break it down through a story you'll never forget. Hey there, welcome back to LMJ English, where you learn English through powerful stories. Today's episode will take you on a journey across borders, inside factories, and through the decisions that shape our world. This is not just a story about economics. It's about people, power, and the price of change. From rising prices at home to falling markets across the globe, we're diving into the world of tariffs, trade wars, and what they really mean for everyday lives. So, if you're ready to improve your English and learn something truly important along the way, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone curious about the world. Let's begin the story. The world connected by trade. Mia sat at the breakfast table, swirling her spoon in a bowl of cereal that had grown soggy. Her dad was reading the news on his phone, a frown forming between his eyebrows. "Bananas are up 30% this week," he said, shaking his head. "And don't get me started on those new shipment delays." Mia's mom sighed as she poured tea. "It's not just bananas. The rice, the coffee, everything." Mia looked up. "Why are prices rising, Dad?" Her father looked thoughtful. "It's something to do with international trade. The U.S. government added new tariffs on foreign goods. That means businesses like mine have to pay more for the things we import." She didn't fully understand, but the words stuck in her head like a puzzle. That same afternoon, her school was holding an economics fair, and Mia decided to go. Maybe someone there could explain. The gymnasium was filled with booths, some showing how to budget money, others discussing cryptocurrency or inflation. Near the back, a sign read "Trade, the world's invisible web." Behind it stood Mr. Park, the school's economics teacher, adjusting a map with strings connecting dozens of countries. "Curious about how the world is connected?" he asked, noticing Mia. She nodded. "My dad said something about prices going up because of tariffs." "What's going on?" Mr. Park smiled. "That's a big question, Mia. Let me show you." He pointed to a model of a smartphone. "Let's say this phone is sold in your neighborhood. The screen comes from South Korea, the chips are made in Taiwan, the battery is from China, and it's assembled in Vietnam. Finally, it's shipped to the U.S. Mia's eyes widened. "So one phone, many countries?" "Exactly," he said. "That's global trade. Countries specialize in certain products or parts and trade them with others. This way, we all get better, cheaper goods. It's like every country has a piece of the puzzle." Mia noticed a sign hanging over the booth. "Trade makes the world go round." "But if we're so connected," she asked, "why would anyone want to make it harder?" "That's where tariffs come in," Mr. Park said, pulling out a block labeled tax. He placed it between two tiny cardboard ships. "If the U.S. puts a tariff on phones from Vietnam, the phone becomes more expensive. That discourages people from buying it, and maybe they'll choose a phone made in America instead." "Oh," said Mia slowly. "So tariffs are like tolls at a gate." "Exactly. But while tolls raise money for a city, tariffs are used for economic strategy. They're supposed to protect local businesses from foreign competition." Mia was fascinated. She had never imagined that something as simple as buying a phone involved such a complex web. "What happens if every country starts adding tariffs?" she asked. Mr. Park's expression turned serious. "Then we may have a trade war, when countries fight economically by raising taxes on each other's goods. And when that happens, prices go up for everyone." She thought back to breakfast. Bananas, rice, tea, all traded, all part of that invisible web. Before she left, Mr. Park handed her a small booklet titled "How the World Trades." "If you're really interested," he said, "read this tonight. You're living through something big." As Mia walked home, she looked at the grocery stores on her street. So many products with tiny labels that read "Made in" some faraway place. Maybe it wasn't just about prices. Maybe it was about people, decisions, and the very way the world worked. The shocking news. The next morning, Mia woke up to the sound of the television in the living room. Her father was already watching the news, his coffee untouched on the table. And in a surprise announcement, the U.S. government has introduced a new series of tariffs on imported goods, said the news anchor. These taxes will apply to products from nearly every major trading partner. Mia sat beside him. Dad, what does this mean? Why is it so serious? He turned to her with a tired smile. It means prices are going to go up even more. It also means the way we do business with other countries is about to change. Later that day at school, Mr. Park was waiting at the board with one word written in large, clear letters. Tariff. Let's break it down, he said, addressing the class. A tariff is a tax. But not just any tax. It's a tax on goods coming into a country from another country. Mia raised her hand. But why would a country want to do that? Good question, said Mr. Park. It's usually done to protect local industries. If a shirt from another country costs more because of a tariff, you might choose to buy one made here. He paused, then wrote another word underneath, protectionism. This is the economic idea behind it, he explained. It's the belief that local jobs and factories should be protected from foreign competition. The U.S. government says the new tariffs are meant to help American workers. Mia thought about her father's store and how many products came from overseas. She could already imagine what would happen if all those goods became more expensive. The class watched a short video clip of the U.S. president standing at a podium. Our trade must be fair, he said. We've been taken advantage of for too long. These tariffs will bring jobs back. This is America first. Some students clapped. Others looked confused. A few whispered among themselves. Wait, said one boy, frowning. If we make things expensive for other countries, won't they do the same to us? Mr. Park nodded. That's the risk. Other countries may respond by putting their own tariffs on American goods. That's called retaliation. If it continues, we could end up in a trade war. Mia scribbled down every word. The class was buzzing with questions. Would this help small businesses? Would it hurt big companies? What about prices in stores? At lunch, Mia and her best friend Layla sat in the schoolyard. Can you believe how much power a single decision can have? Mia asked. Layla unwrapped her sandwich. It's like throwing a rock into a lake. The ripples go everywhere. That night, Mia opened the booklet Mr. Park had given her. One sentence stood out. Trade policies are not just about money. They're about people, power, and the future. She looked at the photo of a factory worker shaking hands with a farmer from another country. And for the first time, Mia understood. When countries trade, they're doing more than buying and selling. They are deciding how to share the world. Markets in panic. The wind outside howled as Mia sat by the window, flipping through financial news on her tablet. Even though she didn't usually care about stock markets or interest rates, everything suddenly felt connected. U.S. stock markets fell sharply today following the announcement of new tariffs, the reporter said on screen. The S&P 500 dropped nearly 3%. Technology shares suffered even more. She didn't fully understand, so she texted her cousin Dylan, a university student studying finance. Why are the markets freaking out? She asked. Dylan replied quickly. Because uncertainty equals fear. Investors hate not knowing what's coming next. Later that evening, Dylan called her. Think of it like this, he said. Imagine you're running a lemonade stand. Suddenly, lemons from another town are 50% more expensive. You don't know if you'll make a profit, so you might stop buying or raise prices. Now, imagine thousands of businesses doing that. It causes panic. Mia nodded, trying to picture it. So everyone's scared? Exactly. When they're scared, they move their money to safer things. What's a safe thing? She asked. Gold, U.S. government bonds, Even some foreign currencies like the Japanese yen, Dylan said. Things that usually hold their value during economic storms. Mr. Park explained more in class the next day. When investors worry about the future, they take their money out of risky places, like company stocks, he said. They put it into things that feel safer. We call these safe haven assets. He showed a chart on the projector. It had arrows going up and down. You see here, he continued, when news of the tariffs came out, stock futures dropped. That means investors expected companies to lose value. The future looked rocky. Mia followed the red and green lines, imagining money flying across borders like nervous birds searching for shelter. Government bonds are another safe haven, Mr. Park said. People buy them in large amounts when they're nervous. This pushes bond prices up and makes their yield or interest go down. Mia whispered the word, yield, another piece of the puzzle. And it's not just stocks or bonds, Mr. Park added. Even oil prices dropped. If trade slows down, factories use less energy and fewer planes fly. That means less demand for oil. One student raised their hand. What about the US dollar? Mr. Park smiled. Great question. The dollar got weaker compared to the yen, which is seen as a safe currency. When people buy more yen, its value goes up. That night, Mia created her own chart at home. In the middle, she wrote tariff announcement in a big circle. Then, like a spider web, she drew lines leading to different effects. Stock prices fall. Investors move to gold. Oil demand drops. Currencies shift. She looked at it proudly. Everything was linked. The next morning, her father seemed more stressed than usual. The market dipped again, he said, checking his phone. If this keeps going, we may have to pause some shipments. Mia reached for an apple and thawed. A single policy decision had caused the entire world to wobble. Money didn't just sit in banks. It flowed. It reacted. It ran scared just like people did. Broken supply chains. On Saturday morning, Mia joined her dad on a visit to one of his suppliers, a small electronics assembly factory on the edge of town. He had a meeting with the manager, and Mia tagged along, notebook in hand. The factory buzzed with quiet motion. Workers soldered tiny wires, machines clicked and spun, and long tables were filled with parts in neat rows. Mia had never been inside a place like this before. This place builds custom controllers for our smart lighting systems, her dad explained. We get the parts from Asia, then assemble everything here. They met the manager, a kind woman named Ms. Patel, who looked worried but welcoming. I'm glad you brought your daughter, she said. This stuff affects her future too. They walked past a shelf stacked with boxes labeled Made in Taiwan, China, and Malaysia. Each of these parts is a little piece of a bigger system, Ms. Patel said. One chip from here, one board from there. If even one is missing or costs too much, it breaks the whole process. Mia blinked. Like a puzzle. Exactly. That's the global supply chain. Ms. Patel led them to her office. She opened a spreadsheet with rising numbers in red. These are our new costs, she said. Since the tariffs were announced, everything from China costs at least 50% more. Even parts from other countries are going up, just from uncertainty. Mia watched her dad's face tighten. That means higher costs for us, he said quietly. We'll have to charge more. And customers may not pay more, Ms. Patel added. They'll go to someone else, or just not buy. On the way home, Mia thought about all the companies that depended on global parts. Phones, computers, even cars. It wasn't just about big tech firms anymore. Small factories, like Ms. Patel's, were part of the same web. The next week at school, Mr. Park brought in examples. He wrote 3 names on the board: Apple, NVIDIA, Nike. Apple, he began, makes iPhones using parts from China, Vietnam, and more. If tariffs raise the cost of those parts, the price of the phone may rise too. He pointed to a diagram showing a phone with arrows leading to Asia. Even the smallest chip matters. NVIDIA, he continued, depends on advanced chips from different regions. Their costs are rising too. He held up a pair of sneakers. Nike makes many of its shoes in Vietnam and China. Tariffs mean these shoes cost more to bring in. Stores might charge more, or companies might cut corners. Then came the big one, cars. Cars are like puzzles with thousands of parts, Mr. Park said. Many come from around the world. With a 25% tariff on imported cars, prices could jump thousands of dollars. Mia remembered something from the factory visit. If one part is too expensive, the whole car can't be built. Right, he said. And if customers stop buying, factories might slow down or shut down. Could people lose jobs? Another student asked. Mr. Park nodded. Yes. If a factory closes, the workers suffer. So do their families. And the town. At lunch, Mia sat quietly, imagining all the people connected by trade. Someone making a chip in Shenzhen, someone assembling it in Ohio, someone buying the finished product in her own neighborhood. One decision, one new tariff, and suddenly the entire line from factory to store shelf was at risk. Back home, Mia saw her dad studying a new list of suppliers. We might have to switch to a US-based company, he said, even if it's more expensive. Why, she asked. To avoid the tariffs, he replied, or at least reduce the risk. She nodded slowly. The supply chain wasn't just about moving parts. It was about surviving in a changing world. The world strikes back. Mia walked into class the next morning and found a giant world map stretched across the wall. Mr. Park had added pins with tiny flags. China, Germany, Japan, Vietnam, Ireland, and more. What's all this for? Someone asked. It's how the world is responding, Mr. Park said. The U.S. started the tariffs. Now other countries are answering back. He picked up a red flag and stuck it into China. China was the first to react, he said. They're now adding their own tariffs on American goods. This is called retaliation. They want to show strength and protect their own businesses. Mia leaned forward. So it's like a fight? A trade fight, Mr. Park agreed. When countries put up tariffs against each other, it becomes a back-and-forth battle. That's why we call it a trade war. He added more flags. The European Union, countries like Germany, France, and Ireland are preparing countermeasures too. That means they're planning new taxes on American products. He pointed to a photo of Irish whiskey. Even this might get more expensive in America. What about Japan? Asked Layla. Good question, said Mr. Park. Japan's worried too. They sell a lot of cars to the U.S. And now there's a 25% tariff on imported cars. Mia remembered what Mr. Park had said last week. When countries fight with taxes, no one wins. Mr. Park stepped back and looked at the flag-covered map. This map, he said, shows how one decision by one country is changing trade relationships all over the world. In the hallway, Mia spotted a flyer for the school's Global Studies Club. This week, tariffs and the world economy. She smiled and took one. That evening, during the club meeting, students from different backgrounds shared their stories. My parents are from Vietnam, one student said. Now, goods from there have over 50% tariffs. My uncle owns a factory, and he's already worried. My mom works at a clothing company, said another. They make everything in Cambodia. She said their U.S. contracts might be canceled. Even Mr. Park joined the discussion. Governments are trying to protect their industries, but in doing so, they might hurt global cooperation. Is there any way to stop it? Mia asked. There is, Mr. Park replied. Countries can negotiate, talk, make new trade deals, but it takes trust and time. Mia went home that night and watched the news with her parents. China said it will begin taxing American soybeans. The anchor said, the EU is targeting motorcycles and orange juice. Her dad shook his head. Everyone's trying to hit back where it hurts. Mia frowned. It's like a cycle. One tariff leads to another. And the people in the middle, workers, businesses, families, they all feel it. She went to bed with a heavy mind. The flags on the map, the voices in the club meeting, the charts in Mr. Park's class, they weren't just about politics. They were about people trying to protect what mattered to them. But in the process, the world was drifting further apart. The rising costs. Sunday morning, Mia and her mom walked through the neighborhood grocery store. As they pushed the cart down the aisles, her mom shook her head at the prices. "Look at this," she whispered. "Oranges are up again. And your favorite cereal? $2 more than last week." Mia looked at the tag and blinked. That's almost 25% more. They moved through the store, and it felt like every product had changed. Juice, eggs, toys in the seasonal aisle. Even the toothpaste was more expensive. Back home, her dad was at the kitchen table, reading a letter from a supplier. "They're raising prices," he said flatly. "They can't absorb the tariffs anymore. And if we want our next shipment, we'll need to pay more." Mia sat down beside him. "Are you going to raise prices too?" "I might have to," he admitted. "If we don't, we lose money. If we do, maybe our customers stop buying." The conversation from school echoed in Mia's head. Supply chains, protectionism, retaliation. It was no longer a theory. It was here, in her grocery cart and in her father's business. The next day, Mr. Park brought in 2 bags of products. One was from before the tariffs. The other, more recent. He pulled out a pair of sneakers. Nike, made in Vietnam. These used to sell for $90. Now, because of tariffs, the cost to import has increased by 20%. Next came a smartphone, assembled in China. With tariffs on parts and final products, expect prices to climb fast. Then he showed a toy robot, made in a mix of countries, plastic from Malaysia, circuits from Taiwan. Tariffs hit every stage of its production. Students looked stunned. "Who pays for all this?" one asked. "You do," Mr. Park replied. "We all do. Companies pass the extra cost to the buyer. That's called inflation, when the prices of everyday items go up." Mia scribbled in her notebook, "Inflation equals rising prices equals families feel it first." After school, Mia stopped by her favorite sneaker store. She asked the clerk about her favorite brand. "We might not restock that line," the clerk said. "Too expensive now. We're focusing on domestic brands." Even clothes, Mia realized, weren't safe. That night, her father was doing numbers again. "We might stop selling our cheaper models," he muttered. "They won't be profitable anymore." Mia sat quietly, watching his face. "What happens to the customers who can't afford the new prices?" she asked. He sighed. "They just do without. Or they buy less. Or maybe they start blaming someone." Mia thought of the families at the grocery store, the kids wanting toys, the teenagers buying phones, the parents cutting corners. The real cost of a trade war wasn't just numbers on a spreadsheet. It was felt in quiet corners of homes, in the choices people had to make. For the first time, Mia understood that tariffs weren't just about economics or politics. They were about the cost of living, a global ripple. In Global Studies Club that week, Mr. Park dimmed the lights and projected a world map on the screen. Every continent lit up with symbols, factories, cargo ships, money signs. "This," he said, "is how far the ripple goes." He tapped a point in Southeast Asia. Vietnam, a rising star in manufacturing. Many American companies moved production there to avoid tariffs on Chinese goods. But now Vietnam faces its own tariffs, some over 50%. Mia watched the ripples spread west. Cambodia too, he said. Factories, they're already reporting cancellations from American buyers. These are places where workers depend on that trade to survive. He moved on to Europe. In Ireland, he explained, the government is warning that tariffs could cut national growth by more than 3%. Why? Because they export technology and medicine, and many American companies operate there. He zoomed in on Germany. Car manufacturers are worried. They build some cars in the U.S., but also import many models. A 25% tariff makes those cars thousands of dollars more expensive. Some companies may even stop selling certain models. Japan wasn't spared either. They've expressed deep concern, Mr. Park said. The Japanese government is studying the impact on their car exports. Their stock markets already felt the fear. He clicked through headlines. Markets dip in Asia. EU prepares retaliation. Ireland warns of slower growth. Vietnam factories at risk. It felt like watching dominoes fall, each one knocking over the next. At home, Mia read more on her tablet. A report showed American companies pulling out of China, not to return home, but to search for new factories in Mexico, Indonesia, or India. She asked her father, if everyone moves their factories, doesn't that just start the cycle again somewhere else? He nodded. It might, but moving a factory isn't simple. It takes time, money, and trust. Trust, she asked. Trust that the new place won't get hit with tariffs next, or that the rules won't change again. Mia thought about it all, how quickly global trade could shift. Countries were adjusting strategies, companies were moving operations, governments were redrawing deals. Even in the UK, which hadn't retaliated yet, businesses were nervous. They were waiting, watching, trying not to get caught in the storm. Mia asked Mr. Park later, is there any country that isn't affected? He shook his head gently. When the world is this connected, no one stands alone. Even if you're not the one throwing the stone, the waves still reach your shores. The next morning, Mia passed a bakery with a sign in the window. Due to rising costs, some prices may change. Thank you for understanding. The ripple had reached her neighborhood too. The future of trade. It was the last week of the school term, and Mia's classroom buzzed with quiet energy. At the front of the room, Mr. Park wrote one question in bold letters. What happens next? The students gathered into groups to discuss. The past few weeks have been filled with charts, debates, and stories from around the world. Now it was time to imagine what came after. Mia's group listed two options, negotiation or escalation. If countries talk, one student said, maybe they can make a new deal, like a compromise. But if they keep reacting with more tariffs, said another, it just gets worse. Like a trade spiral. Mr. Park nodded as he walked by. That's the challenge. If we retaliate forever, we may all lose. Mia raised her hand. What if these tariffs cause a recession? Mr. Park paused. That's a real concern. A recession means the economy slows. People lose jobs. Businesses close. Prices might still go up, but people will have less money to spend. She thought of her dad, the supplier, and the bakery down the street. What about inflation? Asked Layla. You said prices go up because of tariffs. If companies keep raising prices, doesn't that make everything harder? Yes, Mr. Park said. Inflation affects everyone. When food, gas, clothes all go up, it hits families the hardest. He pointed to the board again. But something else is happening too. Companies are changing where they make things. Mia remembered her dad talking about new suppliers. It wasn't just about cost. It was about avoiding risk. The whole world, it seemed, was reshaping itself. Global supply chains might be rerouted, Mr. Park said. Factories might move. Countries might shift alliances. Trade is being rewired. A student in the back raised her hand. But can't we just go back to how it was? Sometimes, Mr. Park said, once a system breaks, it's hard to rebuild it exactly the same way. But we can build something new. Later that night, Mia sat by her window with a notebook. She wrote down everything she'd learned, not just about tariffs, but about people, decisions, and consequences. Her final entry read, Trade built bridges. Will we build walls instead? Or will we find a way forward together? The news was still full of uncertainty. More tariffs, more reactions. But Mia wasn't afraid anymore. She understood that even though she was young, learning how the world worked was the first step to shaping it. And maybe, just maybe, her generation could build something better. Thanks for joining us on this global journey through trade, tariffs, and transformation. We hope you've learned not just new vocabulary, but a new way to see how the world connects, from your local store to factories oceans away. If this story helped you understand English and economics a little better, show your support by liking the video, leaving a comment, and subscribing to our channel. We've got many more stories coming, all designed to help you learn English through real, exciting, and meaningful topics. Take care, stay curious, and we'll see you in the next story. Vocabulary list. Tariff noun, a tax on goods coming into a country. Example, the new tariff made foreign products more expensive. Trade noun, the buying and selling of goods between countries. Example, trade helps countries get what they need from each other. Import verb, to bring goods into a country from another country. Example, the company imports electronics from Asia. Supply chain noun, the steps a product takes from raw material to final sale. Example, tariffs disrupted the global supply chain for phones. Inflation noun, general rise in prices. Example, inflation made groceries more expensive this year. Protectionism noun, a policy to protect local industries by limiting imports. Example, the government used protectionism to support local factories. Retaliation noun, an action taken to get back at someone. Example, China responded with retaliation after the U.S. tariffs. Recession noun, a time when the economy shrinks and people may lose jobs. Example, some experts fear the tariffs could cause a recession. Negotiation noun, discussion to reach an agreement. Example, countries enter negotiation to avoid a trade war. Investment noun, money put into a business to make it grow. Example, the company made a large investment in a new factory. Exports noun, goods sold to other countries. Example, Ireland's exports include beef and medicine. Market noun, a system or place where goods or shares are bought and sold. Example, the stock market dropped after the news broke. Yield noun, the interest or return from investment. Example, treasury bond yields fell as investors sought safety. Currency noun, a system of money used in a country. Example, the value of the U.S. currency dropped slightly. Economy noun, the system of money, business, and jobs in a country. Example, the global economy was affected by the new tariffs. Policy noun, a plan or rule made by government. Example, the trade policy changed how businesses operate. Industry noun, a group of companies making similar products. Example, the car industry is worried about new tariffs. Price noun, the amount of money something costs. Example, the price of oil dropped because of trade worries. Consumer noun, a person who buys goods or services. Example, consumers may have to pay more at the store. Agreement noun, a decision made together by two or more groups. Example, leaders hope to reach a new trade agreement.